I'm sure all of us remember Kayleigh McEnany. She was the last press secretary for Donald Trump before he left office. I'm not sure if it's a thing that they rotate them like every 1 or 2 years, because obviously Sarah Huckabee Sanders used to be his press secretary. Then Kayleigh McEnany came on. There might have been someone in the middle, or maybe was Conway his press secretary before? I don't remember. But anyway, he cycled through 2 or 3 press secretaries. All of them, pretty much did the same thing. They all, went up there pretty much every day and defended Trump at every turn. He was never wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone, it was always a big spectacle. People made tons of videos. This is how many times she's lying, et cetera, right? So we all know that. Why don't we watch one of her more funny, I guess, and egregious on the other hand, because they're talking about COVID deaths. But it's just so blatant. The lies are so blatant. They were so apparent, so obvious, so easy to see. So it was easy to kind of be against her. And obviously she spoke for Trump. Easy to be against Trump as well. So why don't we watch this video? Because I'm sure all of us remember it. If we don't, this was one of the White House reporters questioning her about Donald Trump's claims that or him downplaying COVID. There was a video that came out, him saying he purposely downplayed COVID. I think it was on a nightly news interview. So let's watch this video of this reporter asking her a question about that.
The president recently gave himself an A+ for his handling of COVID, but a D for his PR. What would good PR look like when 200,000 Americans are dead?
What the president was saying is that he wants to make sure that we get good information to the American people. That's something that I think we've done. And this president,
he's provided information at times that was not true. He said he was downplaying it. So purposefully, he was providing information at times that was not fully true.
That's absolutely inaccurate. The president never downplayed critical health information. The president never downplayed our COVID response, and you can just see that by the historic effort that we've put forward. And I would also point you to Dr. Fauci, who said, I don't recall anything different in our discussions with the president, that he said things quite similarly in public. And he was asked directly by none other than John Roberts, did you ever get the sense that he was or wasn't playing this down? No, I didn't. And that's
okay. So those are the, blunt-faced, obvious lies that, are very easily seen. So it was, like I said, it was very easy to be against Kayleigh McEnany, as she's the speaker for the Trump administration, effectively. But I want y'all to watch Jen Psaki. She's the new press secretary, the one for Biden. I want y'all to watch her go out in front of the press and just completely lie. There's not an ounce of truth in this. This is so easily debunked. It's something that's so easily, you can just throw it right back at her like, no, this isn't true. This is a bald-faced lie. And there's a kind of a funny spin at the end too, but let's watch that video.
Maduro last night went on the air and said that they'd arrested multiple people who were allegedly behind a coup that was backed by the United States. What is your response?
These latest accusations, like all previous such accusations, are ludicrous. As a matter of long-standing policy, the United States does not support political transitions by non-constitutional means. Political transitions must be democratic, constitutional, peaceful, and legal.
The U.S. has whoa. The U.S. has a long-standing practice of not promoting. What did you say? How long-standing is that? In particular, in South and Latin America, that is not a long-standing practice.
Okay, so if you don't know exactly why that reporter reacted like that, such a bold-faced and brazen lie that people that follow politics, will be easily able to see, like, no, that's not the truth. And here's the reason. If y'all take a look at this, these are all the countries that the United States has tried to not peacefully overthrow as, or in a constitutional democratic manner, as Jen Psaki would say. These are all the countries that we've tried to install, our own leaders, I guess you could say, or puppets to the West or to the United States. These are all the countries we've done that to. We've basically done coups to, either tried or successfully done. So you can see, all the way ranging from China, 1949. You see Iran there, 1953, which actually ended up installing their basically theocracy that they operate under today, that all happened after, I believe that was the 1953 coup there. You see Iraq there in 1963, Cambodia, Libya in 1980, Portugal, Iraq, Haiti, Afghanistan, Venezuela 2002. The Trump administration tried to do Venezuela again, and I think that was 2017. You see Syria there, 2012, are still there. Libya turned into a failed state. So these are all examples. It's very clear that's not truthful what she said. That's rank propaganda, and it's not getting as much coverage as it should, which is frustrating. And this is apparently what I've been told. I wasn't as politically active, when Obama was president, but I've been told that this is what happens when Democrats are in office. People kind of go back to sleep. They think, the good guys are in there. We don't have to worry about anything. You see Jen Psaki up there smiling and doing her dog videos on Twitter and acting like, she's not a liar just like the rest of them. She doesn't go up there and tell the American people what they want to hear, or, tell the American people, don't worry, we got this under control. Or just blatantly tell the American people the exact opposite of what's true. Let's also take a look at I think Jeff Stein posted this on Twitter. It was an exchange between her and a reporter, and they were talking about the $2,000 checks. Okay, so here's the exchange. Follow along with me. The reporter asked, back on the subject of the COVID checks, Bernie Sanders said it would be absurd to lower the income thresholds, and some other Democrats have raised the prospect that doing so could lead to a political backlash, given voters in Georgia were explicitly promised this aid by the president, and they didn't have any reason to believe fewer people would qualify for that aid under the Democrats' plan. So I'm wondering if that's something you guys are concerned about, and how you would address that criticism. So of course, he's 100% correct that the people in Georgia were promised these $2,000 checks. Immediately was what people were promised. First week is what people were promised. $2,000 is what people were promised. And there, of course, would be political backlash from not only lowering the price tag of it from $2,000 to $1,400, which they've already done, but also giving it to less people than even Trump gave it to, because there's income thresholds, and I think this is when they were talking about 50,000 as being the income threshold, as opposed to what Trump used and what some other Democrats wanted to use, which was 75,000. So of course this is a spot-on question. It's a great question. Let's see exactly what Psaki says to respond to his question. She says, well, the president proposed the $1,400 checks to make plus $600, which is of course $2,000. Okay, so that's first. She's already lying. They promised $2,000. They did not promise $1,400 on top of the $600 that people already received after they were saying $2,000. So that's already a lie, guys. Like, you can't just go out there and say, oh, well, he actually meant this, even though he was saying $2,000 checks, even though they were putting $2,000 on a check. That's what Raphael Warnock did and sent out to Georgians. So that's already a lie, guys. You can't do that. I mean, you can, because the media will cover for you and won't actually press you on this for past this. The scope of the argument is already just around $1,400. People don't even mention $2,000 anymore. That's how bad the media has been on upholding Joe Biden to his promise that he made to Georgia voters. Okay, so let's continue. She says, because he felt it was important and vital to get that direct relief to as many Americans as possible and target that relief to the Americans who need help the most. Okay, so she's already contradicting herself. On the one hand, she's saying, well, the president feels that it's important and vital to get that direct relief to as many Americans as possible. So, as I said, at this point, they were lowering the income threshold to $50,000 as opposed to what Trump did with the CARES Act and the subsequent relief bill at $75,000. So that's not getting it to as many Americans as possible. They could give it to a lot more Americans. That is possible. They can do that within their budgetary means. They give almost $1 trillion to the military every single year. They can do this. That is possible. So she's already lying about that. And then on top of that, she contradicts herself and says, and target that relief to the Americans who need help the most. So if you're getting it to as many Americans as possible, who need that relief. And there's a lot of Americans out there who need that relief, a lot. This is a crisis. People haven't had jobs for months. They're months behind on rent. You know, some people owe 5 to 6 months of back rent, right? So a mortgage or rent forbearance doesn't really help them. Yes, they're not going to be on the streets tomorrow, but when they have to pay that $5, $6, $7, $8, $9,000 back that they don't have in 5 or 6 months, they'll just be out on the streets then. So there's a lot of people that need that relief. So targeting the relief to the Americans who need help the most, and feeling it's important and vital enough to get that direct relief to as many Americans as possible are two contradicting statements she made in that one sentence. So the Democrats are very good at this facade. They are very good at seeming and sounding like they know exactly what they're talking about. They're being truthful to you. They're being straight up with you. Well, this right here is a straight up lie. She's straight up lying to you about, one, the promise, and two, what the bill is actually planning on doing. She continues saying that's how his original plan and proposal was designed. That's just not true, guys. He said $2,000. Vote for us. You want that $2,000 check? Vote for us. Get us control of the Senate, and we'll get it done right away, immediately, the first week. And she's saying this like this is just straight up BS. And I don't know how anyone else can see that it's not. And the fact that the media isn't all over her for this, the fact that there isn't segments on CNN and MSNBC constantly about this, gives the fuel that they need to say that the media is completely fake. It's fake news. You know, they're talking about Joe Biden's dog or something like that instead of actually holding him to account for helping people like he said he would. It's just unbelievable. She says, he's also said, and I've said many times from here, that the final plan will look different from what the plan he proposed in his joint session address. It's still working its way through Congress, and I don't think a conclusion has been made yet on the exact level of targeting. And when it does, we're happy to have a conversation about that. But part of this is an opportunity for members of both parties and members who are across the political spectrum, of course, even in the Democratic Party, to weigh in on what path forward should look like. Well, he's the president, and he just got elected. He has a super high approval rating. He can hold those politicians who are trying to target it more, give less relief to people. That's what targeting means. He can hold their feet to the fire, but he's choosing not to. He can work with people like AOC. He can work with people like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, who are trying to get those $2,000 checks and make them recurring. He can do that. He has that power. He has the bully pulpit. He has the support of the American people. But what does he do instead? He wastes 3 weeks trying to negotiate with Republicans who, when they were in power, they weren't even trying to give people $600. You're trying to negotiate with them to get them to sign on to this bill instead of doing reconciliation right away, so you can actually make good on your promise of getting help to the American people. $2,000 worth of help, not $1,400 plus $600 that someone else gave you, right? So I need y'all to understand that the Democrats are really great at playing the game. They're really great at the facade. They use hundreds of millions of dollars to fund these consultants that, you know, make these BuzzFeed in the now type videos to pump up these politicians. Guys, they're bold-faced liars. They said you get $2,000. They said you get it immediately. You haven't got it yet. It's been 5 weeks, and they're already talking about $1,400. And it's already more means-tested. The fact that it's means-tested at all. Guys, this really gets me worked up because there's a lot of people who fall for this. There's a lot of people who believe it. But that's why you come to places like this, like the Takeover, to actually get real news. Because the corporate media, they're not going to cover this. They're not going to cover it. When they finally get this relief bill put out and signed, you know, with the probably $1,400, maybe even less, who knows, the corporate media is going to be like, oh my gosh, great job. You know, there's so much good in this bill. There's so much of this. There's so much of that. And there is good in the bill. But the problem is it's not what they promised. It's not enough. It's just a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And it's quite simply not what they promised the American people.